After coming home from taking care of my daughter Nicole, who had just given birth, the house felt musty, probably because it had been left empty for a month. My husband Christopher tends to be away from home due to work, likely neglecting ventilation. Clothes were left strewn all over the floor, and the socks he wore were just as scattered. What caught my eye more than that was a single sheet of paper conspicuously placed on the living room table. Putting on my reading glasses to check, it was a divorce application. Moreover, Christopher's name was already filled in. As I held the divorce application and looked at it for a while, Christopher appeared from the back room. "Welcome back. So, you've returned," and said in a calm tone. "I see. So this was what it was all about." "Yes. That's exactly what it's about." Christopher showed an exaggeratedly gloomy expression. "Seeing your name already on it means all I need to do is sign my name and submit it, right?" He nodded slowly and said, "I'm really sorry." "I appreciate everything, Elizabeth," in a theatrical tone. I pulled out a pen from my handbag and, without any hesitation, signed my name. "Well then, I'll head to the courthouse during I'm out for dinner shopping." I smiled as I tucked the divorce application into my bag, packed a shopping tote as well, and set out to leave the house. "Hey, is that okay with you?" Christopher, unable to hide his agitation, called out to me as I was leaving through the front door. "I'll buy some ready-made meals on the way back, but not for you." My name is Elizabeth, a 40-year-old housewife. Just like any other out there. I have a husband who I've been married to for almost 20 years now. After graduating from high school, I got a job at a small local trading company where I met Christopher. At that time, I wasn't interested in romance, but "Elizabeth, I won't give up on you. From the moment I first saw you, my intuition told me this is the person." Christopher passionately proclaimed his approach so strongly that I couldn't help but start dating him. 6 months later, I accepted Christopher's proposal and decided to quit my job. My colleagues were opposed to me quitting, but listen to this. Today I secured several sales and got praised by the manager. The other day, I ended up in the elevator with the president by chance, and even he took a liking to me. Christopher excitedly shared his work stories like a child. Watching him, I didn't want to burden him with anything besides work. And another big reason was that, by this time, I was already carrying a new life inside me. Imagining the future of our family, my cheeks involuntarily relaxed, but as my belly grew, Christopher's returns home became later. "Welcome back, it's late again today." "What, you're still up? You could have gone to bed since I was going to be late anyway." "I'm currently involved in an important project and it's keeping me busy every day," Christopher said, a bit annoyed, in contrast to my welcoming smile. Since quitting my job, I knew nothing about his company, so I had no choice but to believe him. Also, when it came to childbirth, he had initially been enthusiastic, saying, "I'll take the day off and rush over." But as time went on, his enthusiasm seemed to wane, and on the day of the birth, he ended up not showing up at the hospital. "I'm sorry, I couldn't be there. To tell you the truth, there was a crucial business negotiation today that could decide the fate of our company. So I absolutely couldn't leave." I didn't intend to blame Christopher for not being able to attend, and if the work was truly unavoidable, I was resigned to it. "I like that about you, always considerate. It's just like you to be so diligent. Thanks for your hard work today." After giving birth to Nicole, I was swamped with childcare every day, alone. Since it was unpredictable when Nicole would start crying, no matter how tired I was, I couldn't rest easy enough to take a nap. Still, I wanted to support Christopher, who was serious about his work, so I tried to take care of everything around him as perfectly as possible. Christopher always came home around the time the date changed. I was dozing off with my face down on the table, but when I heard the front door open, I forced my heavy body up and... Sorry. I fell asleep. I'll reheat the dinner. No need for dinner. I already ate earlier. Saying this, he seemed bothered even to exchange words with me as he took off his tie. As Nicole grew up and became less demanding, I started to think about having a second child. I tried to bring this up with Christopher, but as soon as he got into bed, he'd say, "I'm tired, can we talk about this tomorrow?" Without listening to my story, and he would fall asleep saying the same thing every day, eventually leading me to stop initiating conversations. At the beginning of our marriage, he used to eat my cooking and say, "This is really good. Elizabeth, you're a cooking genius," with a happy compliment along with his taste feedback, but eventually, he stopped saying that and just silently shoved food into his mouth. Nicole, now in elementary school, would say with a disgusted face, "Watching Dad eat makes mealtime seem like just another task," with a bit of sarcasm. Really, it feels like there's no point in making it. I found myself unwittingly voicing my true feelings, led by Nicole's words. As Nicole reached middle school, Christopher began to go on business trips more frequently. "Dad's been away from home a lot lately, hasn't he?" Nicole would say to me skeptically, but I just smiled wryly and said, "You might not know this, Nicole, but your dad is called the ace of the sales department at work. That's why he's climbing the career ladder, and with more responsibility comes more business trips." Is that so? Nicole gave an ambiguous response, showing neither agreement nor disbelief. After taking a shower and coming out, Nicole observed Christopher as if he were an animal in a cage and said, "Dad's surprisingly good at his job." "What's with that all of a sudden?" "Nothing. Well, I've got to work hard on my studies too." Saying this, Nicole disappeared into her room. Christopher, puzzled, turned to me with a bewildered expression. What was that about? "Soon, Nicole might start showing you a rebellious attitude." "Cut it out." "Not Nicole. No, no way." He dismissed the imminent future with a large wave of his hand. When Nicole became a high school student, she began to show a rebellious attitude towards Christopher. One morning, when Nicole encountered Christopher in the hallway, she said, "Oh? It's rare. Acting like a stranger, but you're here from the morning today? Hey, stop calling me a stranger. I'm your real father," Christopher said to Nicole in a gentle tone, despite the slight smile and without raising his voice. Nicole, unapologetically and even more emboldened, said, "Well, it's true. You're always coming home late, always on business trips, and I haven't seen you eat with us at home for about half a year. That's... As I've said many times, I really want to spend time with my family too. But, odd as it may sound coming from me, I'm somewhat of an ace at the company, and I can't prioritize home over work. I'm not blaming you. It's strange for me to comment on someone else's business anyway. After all, you're just a stranger." Nicole deliberately repeated the word stranger. This made Christopher explode in anger. "What do you mean by stranger? Take back what you said. Look, I work every day to provide for this family. If you're my daughter, show some gratitude." But Nicole, without listening to Christopher's argument to the end, said, "I have homework," and went back to her room. Christopher, cut off mid-rage, turned his frustration towards me. "What kind of upbringing are you giving Nicole? Talking about her father as if he's just some outsider who provides money. I didn't raise her to be like that." Trying to calm the enraged Christopher. She's at a sensitive age, it's nothing to worry about. I gently said. How can you laugh it off so easily? It's because you act like that. She feels emboldened to mock me. Okay. It's all my fault, right? Understood. Let's just leave it at that. Christopher, realizing that arguing with me was futile as I tried to brush it off with a laugh, eventually fell silent. A big change occurred in our family when Nicole had been in college for a year. I have a baby, Nicole said as she gently stroked her stomach. A baby? That's irresponsible. You're still a child. I'm not a child. I'm 19. By the time this child is born, I'll be 20, plenty old enough. I will not allow it. I'll never accept this. It doesn't matter if a stranger accepts it or not, Nicole retorted with her usual bold tone. Fearing that Christopher and Nicole's argument would escalate, I intervened with a smile on my face. Don't be so angry. You'll startle the baby in her belly. Besides, I was about the same age as Nicole when I had her. That's completely different. You and I were working adults. But Nicole is still a student. She doesn't know anything about the world. Nicole might still be a college student, but her partner is a rather wonderful person, I said, trying to soothe him, but that only seemed to fuel Christopher's anger. Hold on. How do you know about him? Did you know all along? I knew about it. Nicole and I have had many phone conversations. Besides, I've tried to tell you many times, but you were either not at home or avoiding talking to me. Nicole's dating some guy I don't know, and you let her get pregnant without stopping her? You're failing as a mother, Christopher yelled, his eyes bloodshot with anger, but I remained calm and even smiled, saying, The guy, Kevin, he works for an electrical company. He's very serious, friendly, and kind. Really reminds me of you before we got married. I emphasized you before we got married as if I found it amusing. Unable to calm down, Christopher declared, I don't care anymore. There's nothing to talk about with you. And from that day forward, he became like a clam, silent no matter what I said. With Nicole moving to a condominium with Kevin, it was just Christopher and me at home. Christopher continued to maintain his silence, deliberately avoiding my gaze whenever our eyes met. How long do you plan to sulk? You're going to be a grandfather soon. I don't care. I haven't accepted Nicole's pregnancy. Whether he accepted it or not, Nicole was pregnant, and I intended to support her no matter what he said. Nicole and Kevin proceeded with their marriage registration and planned to have a wedding once they had more time and financial stability. Nicole took a year off from college. One day, unable to bear the silence any longer, Christopher said, How about we go on a trip together? I might be able to get some time off soon. I've got plenty of leave saved up, he asked slowly, gauging my reaction. Come to think of it, you've never taken me on a trip since we got married. Is that so? Well, I've been to the countryside many times for work trips, so it feels like I've been traveling a lot. Really? Who did you go with? I teased, and Christopher hurriedly replied, Idiot. Don't get the wrong idea. It was always for work. With my boss, colleagues, subordinates, or sometimes alone. He rattled off quickly. I found his overreaction amusing, considering there was no need for him to get so worked up. After all, what changed for Christopher, who until recently wouldn't even make eye contact, let alone speak to me? What are you plotting, I wonder? So, I don't have any ulterior motive. I just wanted to make amends for always leaving you to handle everything at home for so many years, causing you nothing but trouble. It's, well, a way to atone. All right. Let's just leave it at that. But really, going on a trip with you, how many years has it been since we've done something like this? We used to go on trips a lot when we first started dating, right? Before Nicole was born, Christopher and I used to go on trips in a rented car almost every weekend, but those trips became less frequent after I got pregnant. Even after giving birth, I was swamped with childcare, and Christopher was always away for work, so we never managed to go on a honeymoon. On the day, we decided to enjoy a short trip in a rented car driven by Christopher. We never had a honeymoon, and we didn't even have a wedding ceremony, did we? Is that so? Well, doesn't matter, right? Whether we had a ceremony or not, what matters is if we've been happy together afterward. He gripped the steering wheel, focusing straight ahead. Have you never wanted to have a wedding ceremony? I don't know. I've never really thought about it. Really? I always thought you dreamed of a beautiful wedding ceremony. Like, maybe having it in a chapel around Lake Tahoe or something. The moment I said this while looking at Christopher's profile, his grip faltered, and the car swerved slightly to the left and right. A horn blared from a car behind us, warning be careful, and Christopher's breathing became erratic. Hey, focus on driving. That's dangerous. Feeling my life was in danger, I snapped at Christopher. Idiot! It's because you suddenly started talking about something weird. A chapel around Lake Tahoe or whatever. What's wrong with that? Was it strange? Christopher took a deep breath to calm himself down, then brushed it off with a smile. It's nothing. Don't worry about what I just said. After arriving at the hotel and checking in, we were escorted to our room by the hotel staff. The view from the window was filled with lush nature, giving us a sense of release from the suffocating city life. I'm happy you invited me on this trip. Thank you. Is that so? That's good to hear. Now I have no regrets. No regrets, Christopher said as if the end of the world was near, but I chose to laugh it off. Then, a familiar ringtone sounded, and I frantically searched through my bag. It's from Nicole. I wonder if something happened. I had informed Nicole about our trip, but since she was pregnant, I had told her to let me know if anything happened. Mom, I'm sorry to bother you during your trip, but it looks like the baby is coming soon. Before I could think. Understood, I'll come right away, I blurted out. Overhearing the conversation, Christopher quickly grasped the situation. The trip is off. We'll check out immediately. You go ahead to the car. Showing a fatherly face for the first time in a while. On our way back from the trip, we decided to take separate actions. I initially thought I would be dropped off in front of Nicole's condominium, but after receiving a call from Kevin saying they were headed to the hospital, I directed. Change of plans. To the hospital. Christopher dropped me off at the hospital. I thought Christopher would follow me into the hospital after parking the car, but he said, Sorry, I just got a call from work, and I need to go in immediately. I'll return the rental car and head to the office. And ran off. It was puzzling why he suddenly had work despite saying he could take time off, but that wasn't my concern at the moment. Rushing into the hospital, Kevin was waiting for me on the first floor. Over here. The baby's coming soon. Barely containing his excitement as a soon-to-be father. An hour later, the cry of a newborn echoed through the hospital. Congratulations! It's a healthy baby boy. The nurse who attended the birth announced with a smile. Kevin and I looked at each other, then joyfully held hands. A few days after discharge, Nicole returned home, and I decided to stay with her to help with her newborn. For almost a month, I helped Nicole with shopping and provided advice for her first-time parenting concerns, as she couldn't go out much. "Well, I'm about to head back home, but call me anytime if you need anything. Though, we'll probably see each other soon anyway." I said this, and Nicole, holding her baby, just smiled silently in response. "Before I go, I'll say hello to the condominium's owner." Normally, there might not be a need to greet the owner, but I wanted to ensure good relations for the future, so I headed to the top floor where the owner couple lived. "Nicole and Kevin are always in your care. Thank you for being so polite. I hope for your continued support for both Nicole and Kevin." The owner was a very friendly and warm person. When I returned home after about a month, the house was musty, so I immediately opened all the windows. Christopher, often absent from the house, likely neglected ventilation. Clothes and socks were left scattered on the floor. But what caught my eye more was a single sheet of paper prominently placed on the living room table. Putting on my reading glasses to check, it was a divorce application. Moreover, Christopher's name was unmistakably written in his handwriting. As I held the divorce application and looked at it for a while, Christopher appeared from the back room. "Welcome back. You're home," and said in a calm tone. "Figures. So this was what it was all about." "Yes. That's exactly what it's about." Christopher showed an exaggeratedly gloomy expression. "Seeing your name already on it means all I need to do is sign my name and submit it, right?" Christopher nodded slowly before saying again in a theatrical tone, "I'm really sorry. I appreciate everything, you know." I took out a pen from my bag and, without any hesitation, signed my name. "Then, I'll go to the courthouse while I'm out for dinner shopping." I smiled as I tucked the divorce application into my bag, packed a shopping tote as well, and set out to leave the house. "Hey, is that okay with you?" Christopher, unable to hide his agitation, called out to me as I was leaving through the front door. "I'll buy some ready-made meals on the way back, but not for you." After submitting the divorce application and returning home, Christopher seemed to have been standing at the entrance all this time. "Why, did you accept the divorce so easily?" "Because you wanted a divorce, didn't you?" "But why did you give up so easily? Didn't you love me? If you loved me, you couldn't accept it so easily." "Well, you've always had a lover." I smirked sarcastically, and the moment I said that, Christopher's eyes widened in surprise. "Did you think I didn't know?" Christopher was speechless, collapsing to the floor. 5 years ago, I accidentally saw a hotel receipt stuffed in your wallet. You said you were on a business trip, but the receipt was oddly made out in your name. Strange, isn't it? If it was a business trip, shouldn't it be charged to the company? Or does your company require employees to cover all travel expenses themselves? If that's the case, I should complain to the company." I took out my smartphone. "Let's see, the contact for your company should be. I believe the phone number is on the website." Pretending to call his company. "Stop it! It's embarrassing. That's right, I was trying to reduce the company's expenses. So, the company doesn't know anything about this." It was clearly a hastily made-up excuse, but that's probably the best Christopher could do at the moment. Anyway, because of this, I had doubts and immediately hired a detective agency to investigate you. The result was, you were meeting a female coworker at a hotel once a week. It was just a coincidence. The detective just happened to see us there at the same time, but it wasn't anything special, and we had separate rooms." Christopher tried to deceive further, but I brought a large envelope and spread several photos on the table. Can you still say the same after seeing these? The photos clearly showed Christopher and a female coworker leaving a hotel room together, embracing and even kissing. Christopher turned pale and trembled. I thought you were a serious workaholic. It was surprising to find out you had a lover. Suddenly realizing something, Christopher slowly stood up. But when were these photos taken? That hotel has been closed for years. I checked the date on the report. Indeed, these photos were taken 4 years ago. But that's not the only evidence. There's proof you've been meeting her until recently. You knew all this time? Then why stay silent for so long? That's in poor taste. Christopher indignantly lashed out, deflecting his own infidelity. When I discovered this, Nicole was still in high school. I decided to endure it until she could be independent, knowing you'd eventually bring up divorce. I knew Christopher had been discussing divorce plans with his lover. They often met in cafes, unknowingly revealing their secret plans to a detective seated nearby. They concluded that once Nicole was independent and we could live freely, bringing up divorce would lead to a clean and amicable separation. I confronted Christopher with photos of him secretly visiting a chapel around Lake Tahoe with his lover. Weren't you hoping for a wedding like this? These were taken about 2 months ago. When I saw these photos, I knew you were about to propose a divorce. Christopher struggled to come up with excuses but ended up speechless. Ignoring him, I went to the bedroom, pulled out a suitcase from under the bed, and returned to the living room. What's with that luggage? I've been preparing to leave ever since I realized you were determined to divorce. Leave? Where could a woman like you go now? I have a place. I've already arranged to rent a room in the same condominium as Nicole. As it turns out, Kevin's uncle is the owner of that condominium. After explaining my situation, the owner kindly agreed to rent me a room at a slightly reduced rate. Does that mean Nicole knows about my affair? He was shocked, trembling. I couldn't help but laugh. Nicole has known for a long time. Remember how she became rebellious in high school, calling you a stranger? That's why. So, Nicole's rebellion was because you told her unnecessary things. To be precise, it wasn't because I told her, but because you had an affair. Don't get that wrong. The reason for our divorce is entirely your fault, and I plan to take a substantial amount of compensation from you for living expenses. He was unsettled by the unexpected turn of events. He had planned for a peaceful divorce, assuming I was unaware of his affair. But knowing the affair was exposed made him realize he was at a disadvantage. Now, we can still start over. I want to talk properly. He begged, clinging to my feet and starting to cry. No, thank you. I've been enduring and enduring all this time. There's nothing left to talk about. Please wait. Don't go. Christopher cried out loudly as he chased me to the door, attracting the attention of neighbors, some of whom even started recording videos with their smartphones. I lightly kicked the weeping man aside and walked to the bus stop without looking back. Further investigations by the detective revealed more about him and his mistress's infidelity. On the day Nicole gave birth, Christopher, claiming to have sudden work, didn't visit the hospital but went to pick up his mistress in the rental car. Later, I heard from a lawyer that he tried to remarry his mistress, but it turned out she also had a husband. As a result, both of them had to pay compensation to their former spouses, leading to a frugal lifestyle. Moreover, his workplace received daily anonymous letters exposing the affair, becoming known to all employees, including senior management. Initially, Christopher denied the affair allegations as fake, but after I left home, videos of him crying at the entrance were shared on social media, leaving him no room to deny. Subsequently, he demoted to a regional branch and transferred to a low-ranking department scheduled for elimination. Regardless, the compensation I received from Christopher enabled me to live comfortably for the foreseeable future.
Grandma, hurry up! Let's play tag. You're it.
I can't run that fast anymore. I used to be confident in my athleticism when I was younger. Since my mid-40s, I've quickly become winded from running. Now, I spend my days happily overwhelmed by the care of my energetic grandchildren.